Bonjour everyone, and welcome back to the Waves of Your Soul. I am your humble French tarot reader Marine, and today I'm super excited to be doing a review of the Oracle of the Celestial Deities. This is a deck by Letao Wang, illustrated by mythology P, and the publishers are Beyond Words. This is from the same author as the Oracle of Mythic Heroes, which I had presented to you earlier in the year, and so Letao very kindly sent me his new deck for review to present it to you. I'm super grateful for, so thank you so much Letao if you're watching this, for sending this my way. I absolutely love the first deck from Letao, the Oracle of the Mythic Heroes. I've been continuously using it throughout the year. It's a deck I really enjoyed, and we'll talk about it a little bit here. So I was very excited to discover this one, and I've actually been using this for the last 3 weeks to almost a month, which is what I always do before I do a review for you guys. Especially if I'm being sent a deck for review, I always make sure that I use the deck for a few weeks, that I actually put it to good use, that I try different spreads, because by the time I introduce it to you, I want to make sure that I've made my full opinion, that I've actually worked with it. So this is a deck that I've been using in the background for a few weeks, and that I'm finally ready to present to you and share with you how I've been using it, my thoughts, and all of that good stuff. This is a deck inspired by Greek mythology and astrology. Letao is a professional astrologer. That is where his core skill lies, and so for him this aura deck was a way to mix modern astrology with the ancient wisdom of the gods and goddesses from Greek myth. The deck comes like this. It's a two-piece box. The artwork is gorgeous. You're gonna see the cards. I really love this particular artwork. It comes with a guidebook, and it comes with the cards. The cards are the same size as his previous decks, but they have different backings. This is the Oracle of the Celestial Deities, whereas the first deck, Oracle of the Mythic Heroes, the backs of the card looks like this. And then just to quickly compare the fronts, this is the Oracle of Celestial Deity, so the latest one, whereas his first deck about the Mythic Heroes, the front looked like this. Let's do a quick overview of the deck first before I share with you the cards, and then of course we'll go into the guidebook because there's plenty to dive into this one. And at the end I will pull a card, of course, which is what I always do at the end of my review, so that you can get a feel as to how the guidebook reads, because for me this is truly where the beauty and the magic of the decks rely, especially for Letao's decks, because his writing is very interesting. So the premise of this deck is that it is an oracular system that combines the ancient wisdom of the gods and goddesses with modern astrology and archetype to give you daily cosmic guidance. So whereas this first deck was focusing on talking about the mythological heroes and how he associated that with each decan of the astrological wheel, this one is truly focused on the planet. Now Letao is truly someone very passionate about this subject. He's not only an astrologer, but someone who works with the Greek myth and Greek mythology and the deities associated with Greek myth on a daily basis. And I wanted to read to you quickly a little bit of the preface, because I think it really gives a good explanation as to why he created this deck and why it is something that resonates with him. So in the preface it says, "We are always a part of the eternal unconsciousness of the cosmos. We're always looking for answers from myth, the sky, and our unlimited imagination. Such things never change. Should you find yourself graced with an opportunity to commune with a mythic deity, be it in the hallowed halls of an ancient temple, in the serene heart of Peloponnese, amid the time-worn relics of rustic Sicily, or even within the sacred silence of your own dwelling, do not hesitate to meditate, invoke, and to pray. You know they are still listening carefully." So I love this little intro because, as explained in the guidebook, Letao often takes pilgrimage to go and visit temples. This is beliefs that he lives with, that he truly puts into practice, that deities that he communicates with, and so could understand truly where his passion comes from. The first thing that I need to say is that this deck only has 20 cards, and if I'm completely honest, at first when I realized it was only 20 cards, I thought it was a little bit just because, as if you've watched my videos before, you know I prefer larger decks as a tarot reader. I love having plenty of cards. I feel like it gives me more option. It's just a personal preference. So when I realized the deck only had 20 cards, I was like, I'm not sure how that's gonna work. However, I quickly realized that whilst there isn't a lot of cards in this, there is a specific system that was chosen by the author, which actually made sense as to why there was only 20 cards. So for my personal preference, I would have preferred more or just because as a reader I like larger decks with plenty of options. However, the system here makes sense why it has only 20 cards, because each card represents a different planet from an astrological point of view, not from an astronomical point of view. And again, that's explained in the guidebook. I have this fold out. This cosmic blueprint represents all the different cards, all the different elements, the different planets and constellation that astrologically speaking Letao has called planets, but that astronomically can be called constellation and planets. There's different elements here. For the easiest of use, he's called all of them planets. And you can see why there's only 20, because he's decided to choose these ones to represent every single card. So this is why there's a specific system. It's based on this particular blueprint. And this deck isn't just based on astrology, it is also based on a deity. So as you can see for the first card, here's the sun. We don't just have the planet here. This is also associated with the god Apollo. And as you're gonna see, some of the planets are associated with Greek mythology names and some Roman, and that's something that as a mythology lover at first I was a little bit confused by, but again the guidebook explains why the author chose these particular names. So I'm going to read to you a little bit of the guidebook so you can understand the structure of this, because when I read this everything made sense. This particular deck of cards contains 20 deities and their associated planets, asteroid and constellation, which we've looked at in the back here, okay? This is a deck that contains 20 deities and their associated planets, asteroids, and constellations, all from Greek and Roman mythology, as well as astrology. And I've shown you at the back, we have the cosmic blueprint that Letao chose the planets from. It says, although in astrology, planets and constellations differ in importance and usually are classified into personal planets, generational planets, asteroids, etc., I personally believe the chosen 20 archetypes in this deck all share equal importance in our psychology. There are 20 actors all dancing on the ever-rotating stage of life. Our role is to learn how to take advantage of their unique talent and to work with each of them in their own unique ways. So already that really explained to me why these 20 cards were chosen, why these 20 planets were chosen. And then I wanted to read to you this little bit that explained as well why some of them have Roman names and why some of them have Greek names, because again, that really cleared it up for me. So it says, in this deck I will refer to them as planets, remaining consistent with astrological traditions instead of astronomical norm. Each card description covers a planet, asteroid, or constellation, such as Mercury and Venus. And on the card you're going to see the associated deities, which we're going to look at each card in a bit. However, when I named each card, I decided to follow the astrological tradition despite their mythological root. So on some cards you will see Roman names, such as Ceres instead of Demeter, while on some cards the Greek name is preferred, such as Athena rather than Minerva. So that is why, mythologically speaking, some of the names differ, is because Letao really chose a more astrological tradition. Some of the asteroids were only discovered recently, or their status as celestial being is under debate, such as Persephone and Vulcan. Nevertheless, they play an indispensable role in our human psychology. For this deity, I focused more on their mythological and psychological connotations, which have been widely accepted by modern astrologers. So these are the choices that Letao made. So these are the same size as his previous deck. I would say it's pretty much standard oracle size in the sense that it's larger than tarot, larger and wider, but same size as his previous deck. Also for the newest one, here are the backs, and whereas for the Oracle of the Mythic Heroes, here are the backs. So you could mix and match, but they have different backings. Personally, I've used them separately and together, and I'll explain to you how I've done that. So we're going to start with number one. I'll flip through them and I'll explain to you how I've been working with them. So as you're going to see, on each of the cards, first we have this gorgeous artwork, we have the name of the planet associated, we have the astrological symbol, and then we always have two keywords and one phrase that says the wish to. So for the sun we have center, self, and the wish to shine. This little thing may seem very simple, and yet for me this is where part of the deck magic lies. I love this because it actually allows to uncover potentially hidden wishes, hidden desires that we are not necessarily conscious of. So when I was pulling from the deck and asking questions, oftentimes this wish to really illuminated something important for me or for the person I was reading for, and I absolutely love that. So we have the sun, center self, and the wish to shine, which is linked to Apollo, obviously. We have the moon with emotion, instinct, and the wish to protect, and obviously this is linked to Artemis. We have Mercury with travel, communication, and the wish to adapt, and this is linked to Hermes. Then we have Venus, beauty, value, and the wish to love, and this is linked with Aphrodite. I love the fact that on each of the cards there's a lot of beautiful hints. So for Venus, we don't just have Aphrodite depicted here, we also have the dove, we have the swan, elements here that are linked to her symbols as a goddess, which really help to intuitively pull a lot of. And again, like I said, these particular keywords I have found really helpful. Then we have Mars, passion, action, and the wish to persevere. So this is linked obviously to the god Ares or Mars. Jupiter, liberation, opportunity, and the wish to expand. We have Zeus here. Then we have Saturn with karma, control, and the wish to restructure. And this artwork is really gorgeous. It's giving a little bit of manga, it's giving a bit of anime, which is something I really enjoy. And it's also very warrior-like energy, which I think is really badass. It's giving a very fierce aspect to these gods and goddesses. Then we have Neptune linked with Poseidon, obviously, with dream, illusion, and the wish to flow. And again, there's plenty there to take. We have the trident, we have the ocean, so it gives you, even if you're not necessarily familiar with this particular deity or planet, already from the artwork you can get quite a lot of little hints as to what this is about. We have Uranus with invention, chaos, and the wish to change, and this is awesome. Okay, this like cyborg vibe of Uranus is suddenly making so much more sense for me as an astrology student as to why we always associate Uranus with like innovation and Aquarius and everything. Seeing Uranus depicted this way, something clicked for me and I was like, okay, I get it. And this is why I think this would be great for astrology students like myself. I come from a very mythological background. I love Greek mythology. It's like my love language. I understand the gods and goddesses and heroes. Astrology is something that I'm not super familiar with though. I know, you know, basic signs and houses and planets, but it's not a language I'm fluent in. So seeing the depictions as well and the way that the artist and the author have like linked them together actually allowed me to understand as well how to work with these planets a little bit better. So I thought that both mythology fans and astrological fans will be able to find things that link together there and how they connect, and I thought that was really great. So we have Pluto, completion, secrecy, and the wish to transform, and this is linked to Hades. We have Cerberus here with like the three-headed dogs guarding the realm of hell. Again, you see like monsters in the background. I love all the things that are added here to help you understand who these characters are, and that will help you understand who the planets are and who the deities associated are as well. Vesta, sanctuary, purification, and the wish to isolate. Juno or Hera, we have marriage, perspective, and the wish to relate. Again, we have the beautiful peacock feathers, elements here that make us think of the particular goddess. We have Ceres or Demeter, mother, stability, and the wish to nurture. Athena, wisdom, strategy, and the wish to lead. How fierce is Athena here? Come on, I love this card so much. With her owl in the background, we have with her shield with like Medusa on it, really fierce card. Vulcan, another favorite of mine. We have diligence, humility, and the wish to forge. Love that. Persephone, another favorite of mine. I love working with Persephone. We have simplicity, rejuvenation, and the wish to balance, which for Persephone being both the goddess of spring and the queen of the underworld, perfect keyword, so I love that. Then we have Pan, anxiety, resourcefulness, and the wish to live. And Pan is, I feel like, in a lot of Greek mythology oracle, not often associated, so I'm very happy to see one card dedicated to him, and especially the fact that it's associated with the wish to live, the wild nature. I thought that was great. We have Pegasus, friendship, freedom, and the wish to assist. We have Eros for desire, playfulness, and the wish to connect. And finally, the last card is Medusa with fear, reflection, and the wish to survive. And this, again, I love this aspect of Medusa because oftentimes we are depicted Medusa as a monster, someone who was described as a monster to be killed. Her sight was turning people into stone, but she's a victim too, actually, and her story is it's not black and white, it's very gray. So to see this linked with not just more negative shadow keywords such as fear, but also something deeper to the wish to survive, I love the perspective of Letao on this. And actually in the guidebook for Medusa, he talks about her dual nature and the fact that what we often hear about her is not her whole story. So I love that. So that's it for the cards. As you can see, you could use them as your regular oracle cards, shuffle them all in and pull a card. A way that I've loved using them personally is also as altar cards. If I'm trying to work with a specific energy, for example the energy of Neptune, then I would leave this on my altar, trying to attract the energy, for example. Even though this is a self-contained oracle and we're going to look at the guidebook, and you can use this if you just want to get this one, you totally can. If you have or want the other deck from Letao, which is the Oracle of the Mythic Heroes, the way that I've used both of them is that this one, Oracle of the Celestial Deity, because it's fewer cards but about bigger impact, right? We're talking here about planets, about things that have a big impact in our birth chart or in the world. The way I've worked with this is that I've considered this my major arcana deck. So it's almost like it would be major arcana in tarot. We're talking about larger life themes, major life themes, things that have a huge impact. And using this is I would pull a card from this one around, for example, for the months, and this would be my overarching theme, what I need to work on in terms of like my path, my life mission, the bigger theme, right? And then I was pulling from the other deck from Letao, Oracle of the Mythic Heroes, and this one, because it has a lot more cards, because it's not just linked to heroes, but it's also linked with the decans. So we have 3 cards per each astrological sign, so we have 3 cards for Aries, 3 cards for Taurus, etc, etc. This one I was using almost as my minor arcana, and it was more talking about day-to-day life. For example, I'd pull one main card from this Oracle of the Celestial Deities for my months ahead, and then I'd pull one of these for each of the week of the month, for example, and that would give me a beautiful months ahead reading and giving me a really good overview of the energy. This one acting almost like major arcana, and this one acting almost like minor arcana. Obviously you don't have to have both decks, you don't have to use them together. If you do have both of them though, I wanted to explain how I've been using them. You could also do the same and use this one and then pull tarot on top of it, so to expand the message. The way that I thought this worked really well was to give us, like I was saying, big life themes, big life mission, because here we're talking about planets, they have heavier energy. So that's one of the way I worked with this. The other way was I've been pulling cards at night, journaling, and just going off from this particular keyword, especially like I was saying, this particular one saying the wish to. I love that we have that on every single card. It's a great starting point for journaling. So let's say you've pulled a Mercury card, for example, and it says the wish to adapt, then that would be a great starting point for journaling. Like, okay, how can I bring more adaptability into my life? How can I tap in more into that energy? How can Mercury help me tap into that energy? And all of these things. These particular keywords I thought did a really great job at giving a bit of a light into how to explore our deep inner desires, eliminate what potentially we are unable to see by ourselves. That's some of the ways that I've been using this deck, but let's look at the guidebook, because just like the Oracle of the Mythic Heroes, this is another guidebook I completely loved using, so I wanted to give you a bit of a glimpse. So I've already read to you a bit of the introduction as to how the deck is constructed. So I thought that was really great that we get that explanation for the choices. Then we get a bit of an astrology for beginners, we get some mention on how to use the deck, how to connect with it, and obviously we also have some spreads. So we have a 1-card spread, we have 4-card spread, which has been called the 4 pillars, and my favorite one was this one, the zodiac wheel, because obviously using this to have a proper look in-depth, mixing, you know, the zodiac with day-to-day life. I thought I did that and it was really great. And what I've done is I pulled one of each for this, and it's all explained here how to use that. And then I completed it with a tarot card, and it gave me a really great overview, and I really enjoyed that. And I could see doing that for myself every 6 months as a big overview of my life. I thought that was fantastic. So if you are people who enjoy astrology, then this is also a deck that I could see you including in your readings very easily. And And then for each of the cards, so you're going to see we have the astrological symbol, we have the keywords repetitive, then we have the associated astrological sign. So for the sun it's Leo. We have a stone here, which is great. I thought that was a nice addition. And then we have about 4 or 5 pages for each of the cards. So what I suggest doing is pulling a card, because I really want to read you how the guidebook reads to give you an idea. That always helps me deciding if a deck is going to work for me or not, is seeing how the guidebook reads. And for me, this is really where the magic lies. Like I was saying, Leta's writing is always inspiring, it's always interesting, it tells a story. So I want to pull a card for you guys so that you can get an idea on how this reads. Okay, let's pull a card, see what message do we need for whoever's watching. What message do we need? Anyone watching right now? Okay, what did we get? Oh, we're beautiful. We have Pegasus, one of my favorite cards. And so Pegasus is linked to friendship, freedom, and the wish to assist. Look at these muscles, honey. You don't want to be messing up with this Pegasus. Fierce. So Pegasus is linked to Sagittarius, and it's linked to yellow topaz. From lowly beginnings, he rose to the heavens to take his place in the night sky. And he rose by his own integrity and let neither ego nor servitude fork his visions nor slow his ascension. By his wings, his will, and his humility did he rise to become most beloved. And while not formally of the astrologer's holy order, he is nonetheless painted upon the great dome of the northern heavens and proudly and appropriately stabled in the gallery of the gods in the celestial company of Andromeda, Cygnus, Aquarius, and Pisces, forever unbound yet forever loyal. Pegasus, they called him, and his birth was both ghastly and confusing. He was the illegitimate yet divine child of the mighty Poseidon, the god of the oceans, and the dreadful Gorgon, Medusa, witch and monster, whose gaze would petrify upon any whom it fell. The great hero Perseus slew Medusa by severing her head from her body and casting her vile remains into the ocean. And it was from the dripping of her spilled blood and anguish, still rife with the sordid seed of Poseidon's abuse that was sown in violence within her in Athena's temple when she was still human, that Pegasus arose, in horse form, yet winged and pure white. Lowly and distasteful though his beginnings may have been, Pegasus' outlook was elevated and free from indignity. Indeed, his purity put others to shame. Beautiful and elegant in both form and spirit, he conducted himself in ways so noble that anywhere his hoofs touched the earth, crystalline spring waters flowed forth. But Pegasus was seen as a divine asset and was sent by Poseidon to aid Bellerophon in his fight against the Chimera. Bellerophon rode his new steed through fire and fury, casting down monsters too grim and diabolical for this page to tell. Yet for all his own glory, Bellerophon became bloated with his own vanity. Indeed, he became so proud that he presumed a seat in Olympus, home of the gods, and rode skyward upon his steed to claim his place amongst that highest order. And it was this audacious conceit that proved too distasteful for the gods. Zeus sent a gadfly to bite Pegasus, causing him to buck, casting Bellerophon from his back and sending him tumbling back to earth. Thereafter, Zeus welcomed the humble and now riderless stallion, stabled him next to his beloved thunderbolt, and placed his image in the heavens as a constellation. And there Pegasus remains, looking down upon us with sparkling elegance and dignity. And in our astrological charts, he offers us his elevated perspective. There is grace in humility, and service does not equate to servitude. Pegasus kept his own counsel and noble vision, protecting his sense of self regardless of the coarse conduct of the hero who dominated him. And therein lies the darker message within our charts. The story of Pegasus cannot be told without mentioning Bellerophon and his neglect, arrogance, and vanity. It was Bellerophon's ill-conceived assumption that to ride Pegasus was to be more worthy than his steed that caused his fall from grace. Disregard for the boundaries and emotions of others and the vanity of self-bestowed credit that is not entirely deserved are costly follies to be wary of. In the end, it was not Bellerophon who was honored with a constellation, it was Pegasus. From the modest beginnings of blood and foam he came, on paths of dignity he walked, and amid the galleries of the gods he is forever immortalized. And upon these wings of humility and dignity, may we all rise above our own challenges to attain such noble heights. So that already gives you an idea of Pegasus, who it is in the stories, what he represents in astrology, and then we'll have the teaching, career, and a love meaning. So I'll read those to you. Obviously, if you don't want to hear my froggy French accent, you're welcome to pause and read yourself. This is why I'm holding it close. But if you're happy with me reading this, then I'll read to you the teaching first. So the teaching, which corresponds to what it means when you pull this card, generally speaking. Whenever you're doing a reading, this is definitely the first meaning of the card. Winged, noble, and free, Pegasus is the epitome of our soaring spirit that yearns to fly high without constraint. The sacred winged horse sprang from the blood of the Gorgon Medusa after she was beheaded by the mortal hero Perseus. With Poseidon's help, the hero Bellerophon received the assistance of Pegasus, and they became an inseparable team to defeat the fearsome Chimera. The Greek poet Hesiod also wrote that Pegasus was Zeus' loyal and trusty warhorse, supporting the king of the gods by carrying his thunder and lightning during battles. Psychologically, Pegasus is an archetype of divine help, friendship, and a loyal team player who will always stick by your side when you're in need. When this card appeared in your reading, you can be assured that you are surrounded by people who are sincere, helpful, and will come to your rescue if you are willing to reach out to them and reciprocate. This is an important time to find like-minded friends and to foster a community towards which you feel a sense of belonging. Don't hesitate to socialize more and meet new people too. You are never alone, and people around you will love to hear from you. So this would be the meaning, generally speaking, whenever you pull the card, and already I think that gives us plenty of stuff to delve into. Between the story of Pegasus and the teaching here, there is a lot that you can get meaning from, whether that's your ability to help others, whether it's your need of boundaries, thinking about, okay, is someone taking advantage of me? Am I still remaining true to myself? Do I retain my freedom here? In which ways do I want to be there for others, and in which ways do I need to protect myself? I think that's already giving us so much from this guidebook, so this is why I really enjoyed reading this and working with this deck. And let's have a look now for the career reading. For career, in a career reading, the Pegasus card heralds that you will enjoy a friendly, harmonious, and mutually beneficial working environment, and you will have the ability to rise above or elude any difficulties. There will be helpful people around you to offer advice, guidance, and knowledge. Don't withdraw from them by assuming you are being needy or a burden by asking for a favor. At the same time, Pegasus indicates you gain a higher or different perspective about your career direction and free yourself from mental blockages. Remember, Pegasus is a sacred horse who takes refuge amongst the clouds. He sees the bigger picture and new possibilities rather than the little things right in front of him. So shifting views and focusing on your long-term future is necessary. Since his energy is free and uncontrolled, his appearance is particularly favorable for any entrepreneurships or freelance work, which will give you certain freedom to run wild and make decisions for yourself. So I love the way that, even though this is talking about larger themes and planets and older stories that date back thousands of years, there's still a way to bring this back to day-to-day advice for career and for love, which we'll look at. And so I really appreciate that in both Letao's decks, actually, the way that he manages to bring astrology and mythology back into the day-to-day, back into something more grounded. I think that's really helpful, because even though I love stories, I, like all of you, live in day-to-day normal life, and so when we pull cards, we also want to find practical advice. So I love that this deck does both. In love, Pegasus is focused more on the energy of platonic friendship in contrast to sexual love and passion. His love is sincere, but he detests emotional manipulation and possessive attitudes. After all, Pegasus cannot be domesticated even by tight reins. If you want to attract love, be open-minded and give your love interest some personal space. Your partner might need you to be a bit unconventional in dealing with love and to give them the same freedom and independence you deserve. Mutual trust is a foundation of love, and it will go a long way, so try to understand their free and sometimes non-committal style. If you have been in a stable relationship for some time, Pegasus is a great sign that your relationship is solid and loyal and has transcended the need for constant physical attraction. No matter how far and how long you are apart, the strong spiritual connection you share will always bring you together, and you will never feel like strangers with each other. Whenever you need them, they will be the first one flying over to you to offer their care and support. I love that. So as you can see, this guidebook is juicy. There is literally the same amount of information for all of the cards. We get at least 2-3 pages for who this particular figure is in mythology, then we have the teachings, which are the general meaning, and then we also always have a career and love meaning. I love the way that Letao brings things back to day-to-day life, like I was saying. It's really helpful and useful, really interesting way to bridge the mythological / astrological world back to the day-to-day. Like I was saying, personally, for me, I've mostly used this both ways. I've used this for career reading and it's fantastic. I loved it. It was really practical and helpful. And I also use this almost like a major arcana, completing it either with Letao's other deck or with tarot, as, like I was saying, major energy, overview energy for the months, for a life mission, for like a bigger guidance, and then completing with other cards on top to kind of develop that idea. For journaling, using this particular keyword, it was great. And obviously, if you want to do your chart with this, or doing an astrological wheel, putting like 12 cards for each of the houses, etc., this would be fantastic. So these are my thoughts. It taught me a lot as an astrology student, and in readings it's opened a lot of doors. Like I was saying, it's nice to work with these archetypes and to bring them back into the day-to-day world. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you liked seeing it, and I want to say thank you so much to Letao for sending this my way. And of course, I'm gonna be using this in future pick a card readings. Keep an eye out for them. I always put my decks to good use. This will also appear in my July favorites because it's a deck I've really enjoyed using in June and July. So I'll make sure to mention it then as well. And until my next video, I just want to thank you so much for being here. I'm sending you so much good vibes, and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!